Hey guys, so I'm back with another video. I'm coming back to you guys with another book talk, and this goes along with some of the other book talks I've been filming and uploading, so this really should not be a surprise to anyone. I finished Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare last night, and I was in the feels so hard. If you haven't read Clockwork Angel and Clockwork Prince, then you can watch this, and I have book talks for both of those, which I'll link down below if you want to go watch them or whatever. So for those of you who don't know, the Infernal Devices trilogy is basically a prequel to the Mortal Instruments series. We follow Shadowhunters in the 1800s in London, and it's absolutely amazing. And yeah, as for non-spoilery thoughts for Clockwork Princess, I really think this had such a great ending, like an emotional, heartbreaking ending, but a really great ending, and I just loved it, and I love that it kind of wrapped everything up. Now I'm gonna move into some spoilery things, so if you haven't read it, goodbye. I'll see you after you read it, I guess, maybe. So, this book was a very emotional ride, and I just could not deal with the constant threat of Jem dying. And I mean, we knew it from the very beginning of Clockwork Angel that he's gonna die, and it's heartbreaking, and you're like, well, maybe it'll happen, you know, after the series wraps up and we won't have to deal with it. But then, you know, after Tessa is kidnapped and they take her away and Jem is dying, and then we think he dies, and it was so awful. Surprised I really didn't cry, which I thought I was. Like, I didn't even like tear up like I do for some books. Like, some books will make me tear up, but like not make me like actually cry, and I didn't even feel the tears welling, but it was sad, and it was really heartbreaking watching Will struggle with knowing that his parabatai is no longer there, and it's just not okay. And then Tessa and Jem didn't even get married, and it's just so sad because I shipped them so hard, and I wanted Jem to like somehow find a way past this and like actually like be able to live. That happens like, I don't know, 150 pages into the book, and then for, you know, another big chunk, like the second half, you think Jem's dead, and I'm just like, I can't deal. And like Will's struggling, and we know Tess is gonna be like completely devastated, and it's just not okay. Both of the Lightwood brothers end up at the Institute, and we kind of watch Gabriel as he like is trying to navigate being with these people he was always told to like hate because, you know, they did awful things even though they didn't, because Gabriel's dad was an asshole. And we get to see him as he starts to form a crush on Cicely, and it's so funny. Like, he's just like not the smooth talker or like trying to get a girl's attention, and it's so funny watching him. And then of course you see Will can feel like, oh my god, like he's got a thing for my sister, and this can't happen because I hate him and all of this crap, and I can't deal. But it was so great. And then watching them finally get together, I was like, they're cute. And I was like totally wondering, I was like, so how is this gonna work? Because from the Mortal Instruments series, we know that the characteristics of the Lightwoods that we know of are dark hair, and Alec has blue eyes. But in the Infernal Devices, they are blonder, and Will and Cicely both have the characteristics of dark hair, blue eyes. So that's when I was like, oh my god, they're getting together. Cicely and Gabriel are gonna get together, and they're gonna have kids, because that's where the dark hair, blue eye gene comes from. And it's just like, I could ship this, and they are really cute together. Like, everybody's really cute together, and like Gideon and Sophie are so adorable. And then, you know, he talks to her about wanting to ascend, and she's like, yeah, I've wanted to, but you know, I don't want to basically like slap Charlotte in the face by saying, yeah, you brought me in and you've taken care of me all these years, but now I'm gonna like F you over by going to be a shadow hunter, which obviously Charlotte would not be upset about that. Like, even though Sophie is a maid, Charlotte loves Sophie as one of her own. And I just love that, and the fact that she ascended was so adorable, and the way, because she didn't want to bring it up because everything that was going on with Mortmain and everything was just, you know, going to shit. And then just the way that Gideon brought it up at breakfast or dinner or so, like some meal, well, they're all there, and he says she wants to ascend, and then Charlotte looks at her And she's like, is this what you want? And she's like, well, yeah, but I don't want to leave you with one less maid. And she's like, I can find a maid anywhere. Like, if you want to be a shadow hunter, I believe you're worthy. After that, Gideon says something like, how's are we gonna get married? And then I was just like, oh my god, it's about time. And it was so great. And then after that, they're talking, and Sophie is so sassy, oh my god, and she just comes in and tells him, she was like, well, you never actually asked me to marry you, like, how can I marry you if you haven't proposed? And he just kind of looks at her question, she's like, you never asked me, you just proclaimed it in front of everybody, but you never actually asked me. And then of course he does, and it was so cute. Their relationship is so adorable, and I love them so much. Like, I really love, like, almost all of the ships in this book, in this series, and I just love them so much. And it's so great to finally watch as everybody is finally coming together. Since Gabriel does come to the Institute because, you know, his father turns into a giant, disgusting worm demon thing, I like that we slowly, as he's starting to adjust to the Institute life, we really get to see him come out and realize, you know, he's really not that big of an asshole as we've been led on to believe in the first two books, because now we actually get to see him, we get to see him interact and feel accepted within the Shadowhunters of the Institute, and it's so amazing. And I loved getting to see him develop, and I also loved getting to see Will developed even more, because, like, you know, he's a really sarcastic asshole in the first book, and then at the end of the second book we realized that he thought he was under a curse, and that's why he did that, because he was told that everybody he loved would die, and, you know, that's why he kept pushing people away, and that's why he was so rude. And then, you know, he finds out that that curse was actually fake, which I would be so pissed, like, after, you know, 7 years of thinking I've been under this curse that anybody I love is gonna die, and it's like, oh, well, it wasn't real. What? I just wasted 7 years of my life treating everybody like shit. So I really like that we get to see him, you know, come out in this book and really be himself. And I love the little tidbits about reading, and, like, seeing him read and talk to Tessa, and they talk about books, and, like, the inscription he put in, what was it, Tale of Two Cities was the book he gave her, and it was just like, I need to find me a Will. I need to find me a Will Horndell so bad. And, like, honestly, I really love Will, and I love the character development, especially what we see towards the end of this book. Like, I love that, and that's the guy I would like. But I still have to say, Jem is, like, still, like, if I had to pick between the two of them, like, which fictional boyfriend I would want, I'd really want Jem. I don't know, I've just, like, grown an attachment to Jem. Can we just talk about the fact that he became a silent brother? Like, I'm like, you led me to believe he was dead for how much of the book? Until suddenly he pops up at the Battle of Mortvain with, you know, everybody else, and he's a silent brother. And, like, I'm so glad they did that, because, you know, he still gets to live, but it's so depressing because, you know, he can't have any possessions, he can never marry, and, you know, they kind of lose their humanity as stuff goes on. And it's so sad to know that he gave that all up. And you can tell he's sad, but he doesn't want to destroy, you know, Will and Tessa, and I mean, obviously he already knows that they're, like, in love with each other, and so just seeing him be like, you guys deserve to be together, like, you should both be happy, like, you both love each other, and go for it. And my heart broke, but I was like, oh, it's so great. And I know he had to do it because that was the only way, and he was trying to stick it out until they found a cure, but it's just so sad that he gave that all up. So he becomes a silent brother, but the thing is, and they talk about it, is before you become a silent brother, you're supposed to, like, cut ties with your previous life, and Jem didn't really get to do that. He was on his deathbed, and the two people he most had to sever ties with were Will and Tessa, and they weren't there, and he didn't get to do that. And I get it was so last minute, and it's like, well, you know, Tessa's kidnapped and Will's on the way to save him, and that was just heartbreaking. And you see the devastation that caused on both Will and Tessa after the battle, and they're there, and, you know, Tessa's, like, almost died because she transformed into an angel, you know, like, everybody could do that and survive, right? You know, Will even says, he's like, they sever ties, we didn't get our closure, we didn't get a goodbye, and he's like, I think that's what Tessa needs in order to wake up from her coma, basically. And so Jem coming in you know, they call him back and they made a special exception, and he comes in and, you know, he sits by her bedside and he talks to her, and it broke my heart. Like, oh my god, I think I'm gonna cry. That whole chapter of him saying goodbye to Tessa and Will was so heartbreaking, and I mean, I loved every second of it, but it broke my heart, and my eyes like started to water, and you could feel the heartbreak from the pages. Not only was my own heartbreaking, but like I could feel Will and Tessa's heartbreaking, and even Jem's as he was saying goodbye and explaining, you know, I will see you, but it won't be in the same context as it is here. And just like hearing him talk, and like they get their closure. The tears were welling and they didn't come, and I was like, stay strong. And I thought that because a lot of people, I haven't watched any reviews for this, but like a lot of stuff I've heard when people talk about like sad endings and stuff, a lot of people say that Clockwork Princess left them so devastated. And so I was thinking, well, maybe it was that. And I was like, yeah, it was really sad, it was heartbreaking, but like, I'll get through this, that's fine. And I'm thinking, okay, I've got through the really sad part of the book. We're good, right? Because then after that, then we get happy news, and you know, Tessa and Will get engaged, and you know, they're having their Christmas ball, and Charlotte's consul, and Sophie's a shadow hunter, and it's just a great time. And we even get closure from Jasmine, however you say her name, because she's there. She now protects the Institute as a ghost, which I really liked. Like, it took her dying to understand that she really did want to be a shadow hunter. Even though she regretted and hated the world as much as it was, she realized that it wasn't as bad as she's making out, and she didn't even really give the shadow hunter world a chance. She just automatically blew it off because it's not the way she was originally raised, it's not how her parents wanted her to live, and you know, she was forced into the life. She didn't get a choice. I really like that we got some closure, especially with Will talking to her out on the steps, and she says, well, I now protect the Institute. I want to see if we're going to go back to the London Institute in like a different book, because I would love to. I'd love to see if she's still there. Dinah says at the end of Clockwork Princess that he's going to leave. His time in London is up. You know, him and Camille have not been together since forever, and his relationship or thing or whatever he was having with Wolsey, which we know was not just friends, he's like, we can only stand each other for so long. And so then he's like, it's my time to go. And you know, they ask him where he's gonna go. He's like, I think I'm gonna go to New York. So he goes to New York, and he even says he's gonna take Church with him, maybe, because they're talking about how mopey Church has been since Jem left because of his cat, and it's so sad. So that's, we know, is how Church gets to the New York Institute. I've cried at very few books. Like I said, it takes a lot to make a book like make me like physically cry, like tears. Like, I've read several books where my eyes have welled up, but I've never actually cried. And this book, I was crying, and I wanted to do the big, heavy, dramatic, you know, sighs and stuff as you're crying and sobbing, but I was like in the living room with my dad while he was watching TV, and I was like, oh, I can't do that because he's gonna ask me what's wrong, and then I'm gonna be like, it's the book, and I just can't, and he's just gonna be like, you're weird. Okay, never mind, I shouldn't have asked. But the epilogue tore me apart. I was not expecting this at all. I love that we get to see Tessa kind of explain her life with Will. You know, they were married for so many years and they had kids, and just the love. I'm gonna start crying again. I didn't think I was gonna cry because it's a book and I already read it and it's done, but I think I might. But just seeing the love that they shared together, and like how much she truly cared for him and how much he cared for her, and they made it work, and obviously they never forgot about Jem, and I'm crying. This is not okay. Why am I crying? And the fact that they even named their son James, and I was just like, I can't. But particularly the thing that really like broke my heart when she talks about how Will died. I mean, they lived a really long and beautiful life together, and you know, they had kids. Tessa's a warlock of sorts. She's half shadow hunter, half demon, and I will get into all that crap in a minute. And so she is basically immortal. She's never gonna die of old age. So like, she even says, you know, it was really weird, you know, if you hadn't been a part of the family, and the close-knit circle of friends, you would have thought it was strange that, you know, this like 90-year-old bedridden man and this really like smoking hot 20-year-old sitting with them. You would think it's strange, even though, you know, Tessa's just as old as Will is. She just doesn't age, and it's sad to see that she would never grow, like they grew old together, but like she never physically grew old, and just the heartbreak she suffered when he died was so sad. And then Jem came in at the end, and because, you know, he's a silent brother and they're there when people die, and the fact that she said he came in early and they still had Jem's violin, and he sat there and he played the violin and he played the song, and they're like, oh my god, why am I crying? I really did not expect this to like still like emotionally stab me in the heart while I'm talking about it. But as he plays, and he plays the song of their life, you know, when they first met, and, you know, training together, and then, you know, Will and Tessa getting married, and then them having kids, and like all this stuff, and it was just so beautiful and so heartbreaking, because, you know, like, it was so hard to watch that happen, especially having Tessa know that this is gonna happen every time. Like, they're always gonna die, and I'm always gonna be left here by myself. It was really hard, and then he died, and she said she fled because she didn't want to watch as her children grew old and her grandchildren grew old and died, and she still stayed the same, which I think is so heartbreaking. Yeah, at least as a normal world, like, they can't have children, so they don't have to relive that over and over again of watching their children grow old and die, and their grandchildren grow old and die while they still stay the same age and don't do anything. And I really like that at least Tessa wasn't completely on her own after that. And she had Magnus to go to, because she went and stayed with him for a while. You know, she said she woke up in the middle of the night crying and screaming for Will, even though she knew he was gone. And, you know, Magnus is there to comfort her and help her through this heartbreak. And he tells her, he's like, the first one is always the hardest, because you have to figure out how to pick up the pieces and move on. And that is just so heartbreaking. And we see snippets of this from Magnus throughout Imperial Devices, and also within the Mortal Instruments series. He talks repeatedly about how hard it is to, you know, fall in love with somebody else, knowing that they'll grow old and die, and you won't, and you'll have to go back into the world without them. And it's so devastating, and like experiencing it firsthand from somebody is so sad. I loved that when Jem went to say goodbye to Tessa and, like, you know, sever ties and everything, that he made her promise that one day out of every year he will meet her for an hour on Blackfire Bridge, and they will just spend the hour together, but she can't tell anybody. And I'm like, well, at least, you know, she still gets to see him, and, you know, and they can still have some type of like friendship or something, and they do that every year. And then the epilogue obviously takes place in 2007. Everything's like blown up and gone away, but she still meets Will every year, and this time he shows up, but he's not a silent brother anymore, because they found a cure for his addiction. And it was so great. And to see him like try to like profess his love for her again, and the fact that he's so terrified that she won't want me after everything that's happened, and especially since she loved Will and now he's gone, and just seeing that she still felt all that love for him in her heart. And I really need to stop crying. I hate crying. And then, you know, he tries to like find a way to put it into words, and then he just walks away. He walks away and leaves her standing there. And it's so, I was so heartbroken for a second. I was like, he's not gonna leave her there. This is their second chance. And especially after, you know, she lived through Will and all of that. And then, you know, she goes after him and she tells him, like, you did ask me if I've ever loved anybody since Will, and I originally said no, but that's not true. I have. It was you. It's always been you. You know, I loved you both, and like, I didn't love you any less than I loved Will, and I didn't love Will any less than I love you. And, you know, so it ends with them kissing and, like, going off to explore the world and live. But the sad thing is now that Will's not a silent brother anymore, he's not immortal, she realizes that because he tells her, and, you know, she realizes, like, I'm gonna have to go through it again. Like, we'll live, and Jem will grow old, but I won't, and then I'll have to watch him die. And, you know, pick up the pieces and deal with that once again. And it was sad, but, she, you know, she realizes, she's like, it's worth it. Like Magnus told her, I believe it was in Clockwork Prince, he said, you know, most people are really lucky to find one true love in this world and in this life. And you are even luckier to have found two. And it's just great. So now we know that Jem and Tessa get to have their happy ending, and, well, mostly. And I would love to see them after this, because, like, I loved them so much, and I really do want to see them together. City of Bones also takes place in 2007, but, you know, in New York. And so I wonder if there's going to be a crossover of Jem and Tessa in City of Heavenly Fire, because I've read up to Lost Souls, and I mean, I don't know if they make appearances in the Mortal Instruments series. I don't think so, but I wouldn't really know because I wasn't really paying, like, you know, I didn't think about it. I really want to see them interact with the other characters that I've already known and loved. Total, like, plot twist that I never saw coming in this book was who exactly Tessa's mother was. Tessa's mother, Elizabeth, was actually Starkweather's granddaughter, Adele, who was kidnapped by some fae and switched out for a sick human. And then she went to live with the Mortal family thinking she was completely human. One tiny problem with this book that I noticed. I found 2 typos within the same section of a chapter, and they're not big, but they really irritated me. I was like, okay, because at first I noticed something was different, and I was like, maybe I just didn't realize this person was there with them, but then I was like, I swear he was somewhere else with somebody else. And it's when Magnus and the Shadowhunters are looking for a cure for Jem while he's dying, and Magnus has sent Cicely and Gabriel to go pick up some of these ingredients he needs, and so they show up and they're talking, and then there's twice within this section that Gabriel's name is Gideon. And I thought for a second when I first read it, I was like, Gideon. I was like, maybe he is with them and I just didn't realize it. No, I went back and read it, and they did it twice, and I was just like, okay. I mean, I know editing and all of that stuff is a lot of work, and especially with such big books, it's really hard. But you would think that you would notice what characters are together in this particular scene. And it just really drove me up the wall, and just like, can't. But that's really the only thing I really saw with this, you know, that I didn't like, besides the fact that, you know, it shattered my heart into a million pieces. With the ending of this book, which is the weirdest part, is like, I really can't tell if I love it or hate it, because I really hate it because you made me feel all that emotional pain of Will dying and Tessa trying to figure out this immortal life thing and getting used to that. This is going to happen to me a lot. And then I loved it because we finally get to see Jem find a cure and released from the Silent Brothers and get to have his chance with Tessa. But then it's like, but at the same time, my heart is still fucking broken from Will, and I just don't know how I feel about this ending. Like, I love it. It's a love-hate relationship. Like, I can't pick a certain feeling to go towards this. Anyway, so I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Obviously, it was great. I loved it. I loved seeing all of our characters. I loved finally getting to see Mortmain get his ass kicked so hard. It was great. And I loved, you know, everybody gets their happy ending in the end, and it's great, and I love books like that. Those are my thoughts. If you share any of my thoughts, or you have any other thoughts you want to add, please let me know down in the comments while I go try to not continually cry over this book. Yeah, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. I promise I do not cry in any other video except for this one. I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.